What is good, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Fundamism Podcast. I'm your host and master of shenanigans, Paul J. Long, and I'm super excited to be with you today. I took some time off. I had a little mishap with my knee, so I had some knee surgery, went on a much needed vacation with my family and created a whole lot of fun, which I'll talk to you guys about. And ultimately, I was looking for the right guest to get me back in the mindset to just do the dang thing. And we have them here for you today. We, of course, are the Fundamism Podcast, where we empower individuals and organizations to create more of what's good as opposed to what isn't. We do so by featuring fun individuals that know how to gravitate more towards the things that give them strength as opposed to the things that don't. Before I introduce to you our featured podcast guest, I would be remiss not to call out our sponsor, Charlie Hustle. Charlie Hustle has been with us from the jump, day one. They're celebrating their 10-year anniversary. So Charlie Hustle's been in business for as long as Melissa Long and I have been married, because we're going up on 10 years here in September. So Charlie Hustle continues to put out not just great material, attire, whatever you're into wearing, but ultimately just goodness into the community. So if you want to know more about Charlie Hustle, go to charliehustle.com. We, of course, just wrapped up our mental health month of May, where we featured some really fun questions to generate moments that could potentially help interrupt negative brain patterns and get people to a place that makes them smile. So if you didn't catch any of those, please venture over to Charlie Hustle on Instagram and catch all of the goodness. Now, without further ado, I've pumped this gentleman up a lot. I've had the blessing, an opportunity, multiple, if you will, to connect with this guy via social media outlets and even tune into a few podcasts. So I've been trying to get him on for a while. He is a senior partner at Speak Inc. He is a foodie, a new dog lover, an avid poker player, and an embracer of awkward moments. What is good, Mr. Tim Mathy?
Life is good. Paul, how you doing, sir? Great to see you. Thanks for having me on here today.
Well, listen, it's been a long time coming. I'm honored to have you. Every time I've interacted with you, I told you earlier before we started, it's been a small sample size, but typically people are giving you grief. You're taking it in stride and you're having a lot of fun. And that's why I wanted to invite you on this particular podcast, today's episode, which features the fundamental embrace awkward moments. But before we make it awkward, Tim, tell me, what's been good in your day today? What's one good thing in your day today?
You know, today I got up early. I'm going on a 2-week backpacking trip with my oldest son who just graduated from high school. So I went on a little 4-mile backpack hiking trip this morning. So that was a great way to start the day, clear the mind up and get ready for this. And hopefully we're booking some speakers and things ahead.
Yes. So you have a singular son or you have more kids than one?
I have 3. I have a boy my oldest just graduated high school. I have a son who's going to be a sophomore in high school. And I have a daughter who's going to be in 7th grade who walks all over me.
My goodness. Yeah.
My story there.
All of those ages sound just like drama. I mean, we're sitting at 8 and 5 respectively, and I could only imagine what it's going to be like as time progresses.
No, it's awesome. I mean, it's just amazing how you raise them the same, but they're all so different. That's probably the coolest part. They're all people, so I can't complain. They're great kids, and I married above my pay scale, so my wife's fantastic too. So
that makes 2 of us, my friend. So congratulations on having a son that just graduated. Probably not the most normal school year ever, or last 2 for that matter, for him. So what was that transition like for him?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, he kind of felt he missed out on some senior stuff, but they did a great job. You know, he had prom, and probably the greatest thing last week, we had a graduation, and he goes to a big high school, so there's 1,000 students and probably 8,000 people in the stands. But think about it, a year ago today, if we would have said we had 8,000 people outside, mostly without masks, I mean, that was probably the biggest celebration. So it was very cool, and it was a unique class. Look at it that way. Instead of being kind of the normal class, they definitely experienced stuff that no other class at Cherry Creek High School has been through.
Fantastic. Well, I love it, brother. And, that question, what's good in your day today is very deliberate. As many of our listeners know, we go through our day in and day out, hearing the question and asking the question consistently, how is it going today? And unfortunately, oftentimes that question can get people into a mindset where they're thinking about things that aren't necessarily working as opposed to what is. If you're not tuning in on YouTube, you might not have seen the fact that Tim, as he's expressing to me about this hiking trip and his son's graduation and his other two children and his loving wife, guess what he's got on his face the whole time? A smile. And that's the power that you have each and every single day if you're deliberate in expressing a genuine interest in others. So, Tim, obviously, I gave a whole wealth of things that you're into here: poker, dogs, foodie. You mentioned hiking. What is it that you do for fun? Like if you've had just a day, just walk with me for, what about a whole year, a pandemic of a year, and you just want to get out of your head and stop worrying about all the stuff that's got you down and get to a place that truly you cherish or you find happy, your space? What do you do for fun?
Oh, that's a good question. There's probably two things I love. I love games, be it board games, but I love card games, poker, hearts, rummy, gin, you name it. I love playing those things. And also, I'm a sports junkie. So whatever, any type of sport, I play baseball, basketball. During COVID, I became a avid Frisbee golfer. My middle son played a lot of Frisbee golf. We have a course right next to our house. So I played a ton. And now it's something him and I do a lot. So I never knew what Frisbee golf was. And now I play a few times a week. And I don't know. I'm a junkie now. I became a Frisbee golf junkie. Ultimate Frisbee, I don't know what you call it, but I became a junkie in the last year. It's ridiculous. So that's anything card related or sports related, count me in. And I know I just looked up, you were the Royals 2016 fan of the year. So that
look at you cool. Doing your research. Yeah. Yes, sir. I can't wait. Hopefully you're coming to the IASB showcase, and I think it's going to be Miami potentially.
I'll be there.
Awesome. So you'll get to hear the story, but man, that means a lot to me to know that you know a little bit about the background. Of course, there's a lot of shenanigans that go into that. It wasn't the proudest moment in my whole entire life, but quite honestly, I don't know if I'd be speaking to you today, Tim, if I didn't get into all that stuff. So
my dad's from Kansas City, Kansas, so he is a huge Royals fan. So there you go.
Is he still here?
He lives in LA. He's been in LA for 50 years, but he grew up in he went to Bishop Ward High School, got a ton of family in Wyandotte County. So he's in my house right now. He's wearing his Chiefs hat yesterday, which irritated all of the Bronco fans around here. But yeah, he's a Kansas City junkie, so I thought you'd appreciate that.
My goodness, I do. What's his name?
Don Mathy. He's a good man. Good man.
Oh my goodness. So, as you're going through your laundry list of items here that give you strength or that you find fun, I believe a lot in energy, Tim. I don't know how you feel about it, but I do believe that you put good out into the world, good comes back. I also think that the universe typically puts things in your way or in your path for a reason. And as I'm listening or looking at your list of items that you do for fun, there's a reason why we're here today together. And it's like everything that you said, I am driven by. So everybody in our neighborhood, I'm turning 40 in July here, and everybody in our neighborhood knows that it doesn't matter if it's Father's Day, a general get together, a birthday, whatever it may be, I want to do something competitive. And so whether that's, have you ever played Frisbee where you're knocking off the beer bottle off the pole with the Frisbee?
I have. Yes, I have. Yes.
Amazing.
Great game.
But you'll appreciate this. So last Father's Day, my wife bought me my own Frisbee golf basket. And so we move it around. Now I'm terrible for the record, but we move it around the yard, and my neighbor around the corner just bought one. So here's our plan. We're actually going to create a little 3-hole course that goes around the bend, around the neighborhood, where we throw at his house, we move the basket once, and then we end at my house with a third basket.
I love it. Happy early 40th for that. See, I love stuff like that. And the creative juices behind that, right? So just kind of making it your own and going. I love it. That sounds like my kind of birthday right there. So,
yes, sir.
So hit me up. I hope I'm in Kansas City.
Yeah, heck yeah, let's go. Heck, I might come to Denver. Who knows? So what you just expressed, like that creative side and that competitive nature and all the things that give you strength, Tim, as well as me and everybody listening, That is Fundamism. And it's very important for us to express to you as a listener that our fun is defined differently from yours. And so as you tune in, as you watch me on stage or some of my shenanigans on social media or connect with Tim on LinkedIn, hopefully, and book a speaker through Speak Inc., know that it is never our intent to get you to be like us, but rather for you to self-discover through the power of questions and a genuine interest of what your fun looks like for you. So, Tim, let's jump into state of the industry. And I don't want to talk about this a lot because I've heard you on several podcasts. I've heard you on, I think it's called Pulling Back the Curtain of the Speaking Industry. Is that our Clubhouse group?
Yeah, I'm correct. Pulling back the curtain. So just trying to be transparent about everything. So
I love it. And so in the spirit of full transparency, how tired of or are you talking about our virtuals here to stay?
It's a lot. Yeah, I'm a little beat up by that. I mean, I think the bigger thing I'm tired of is just contracts and addendums and rescheduling. But no, I don't know if we all know the answer. I just think it's going to be some form of virtual, live, hybrid. Everyone's going to do something different, and there's so many aspects. But I think the key is we got to make the best of it and do great by it, not just do good on whatever we're doing. You got to do great by, be it in person, virtual, hybrid, whatever you want to call it. Between the speakers, the bureaus, the meeting professionals, we got to do great by making these events even, a step up. So that's what I'm looking forward to it in that regard.
For sure. Well, anytime I meet an individual like you, I'm fascinated by the background of how you got into the role you're in. And so I don't want to talk a ton about work, but specifically what I'd like to talk about is when I interact with you, you're a gregarious guy, you're lighthearted, you like to have fun. People pick on you and you razz them back. I really do feel as though you embrace awkward moments, which we'll talk more about that before as we progress. But as I look at you and I think to myself, he's in the speaking industry, connecting speakers with organizations, right? And you're non-exclusive, is that right? Meaning that you don't
Correct, yes,
any speaker exclusive. So what thought did you ever give you yourself to being a speaker?
Not much. I kind of like my angle of being kind of behind the camera, though more and more I do speak a fair amount to meeting professionals, or, I go to different speaking conferences and speak to different professional speakers on that end. So I enjoy that, but I think my talents are best. I have a face for radio, so behind the screen is probably where I should be. But, there's nothing better for me than when I'm in the back of a room and a speaker is crushing it, giving their message, and from a business, inspirational, whatever point of view, and connecting with somebody there. It's magical just kind of be part of that and watching that happen, that transformation happen to some individual in the audience. To me, that's it's a game changer for kind of what I do. And it actually changes my mindset because it just puts me in a better space.
How did you, so you never necessarily considered speaking,
Correct.
but you got thrown into or gravitated towards the speaking industry. So how did you get here? What got you into this business?
Sure. Long story short, I graduated college and I was thinking about going to law school, wasn't sure. I got a job at a staffing job, like getting people jobs. And then the girl I was dating at the time wrote an article about me being successful out of college for the San Diego Union Tribune, because I was working in San Diego. I was not successful, but she wrote it. It's on the Sunday cover of the Sunday business section. We broke up like 3 weeks later, so that's probably the best part of the story. I was at a wedding. One of my colleagues, Jeff Bigelow, who's with me now, was sitting next to me. I was at my current boss's wedding at the time. He worked for Speak Inc. They had called me like a week prior, asking if I had any interest in doing this. I had no idea what it was. I said no. And then I wasn't real happy where I was, started talking more, interviewed with them. And next thing I know, I am bringing videos home with my two roommates living in Pacific Beach. My roommates at the time were named Spike and Garage, still two of my best friends today. And we started watching, videos. I remember Frank Abagnale from Catch Me If You Can. Yes. I remember them just sitting down, watching this video for like an hour. We just got caught up, and I've been doing it for, 20 plus years. And I feel blessed every day because I really do something I enjoy. I love it. I love what I do. So I kind of fell into it. That's probably the long part of it, but it's an incredible gig. It's
Sure.
awesome. Great people in this industry. Great people.
For sure. And your passion shows, not just when you talk about it with me here and our Fundamism podcast listeners, but in the Clubhouse group and on the other podcasts that I've heard you on. And I just, you know how like, and this is corny as all get out, but you could tell when people are smiling, right? You could
Correct,
tell when people are generally
through the mask, you can tell.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
through the mask.
I smile with my whole face because I got all the wrinkles and then the really squinty eyes, so everybody knows when I'm smiling. And there's a good chance that I'm smiling on any given day because, man, think about what we've been through over the course of the last year and a half, right? And we often talk about this with groups. If I do longer sessions, like in a workshop or something like that, think about the worst possible moment in your life, like that moment that you considered the fact that there was no possible way you could get through this moment. And you were questioning why you were put here on this earth and what your purpose was and why is everything bad in the world happened to me or you and only us. And ultimately, we made it through that. Like the most difficult time that we've ever faced, we made it through. And I always like to look at those moments as perspective because the last year and a half, especially in our industry and many others, newsflash, I'm a live speaker. I mean, historically, my revenue was tied directly together with live events. And I didn't have any live events for quite a long time. So how did you transition your mindset to not only survive through the pandemic, but then thrive while finding and connecting speakers to organizations through these virtual experiences?
Well, I think you just got to come out of it. I mean, it was tough at first, right? You're getting all these events canceled and you're almost in denial. And then you're in the fetal position, like what's going to happen? But then you got to kind of come out of it and go, this is an opportunity. Don't let what's that line? Don't waste a good pandemic, in some ways. I mean, you kind of had to revive. It was for 20 years. So learning the virtual game, learning, about different speakers, different ways to connect with meeting professionals. It's taken things to a new level. I firmly believe I've never been closer to speakers I work with and meeting professionals because we've all been through this together. So there's a connection that grew. And even my competitors, honestly, other speaker bureaus, we've never been closer. And I think there's a better connection now. So I think that's helped me. I think you just got to kind of step up. And I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not a brain surgeon. So, if I have a bad day, someone's life's not at stake. It's just, we might have a contract issue or a speaker thing might go wrong. So I think you just got to adjust your mindset there. And that's really what I try to do. I mean, I feel very fortunate, through this whole thing, I was healthy and my family was healthy. And I think that's kind of the way I looked at it. And everything kind of got in a different perspective. I think I'm in a better mindset now than I was pre-COVID as far as, booking speakers and what I do.
Sure. I've never heard the line, don't waste a good pandemic, but it is amazing and I will use it forever and ever.
It's all, I stole it from somebody else, but I mean, think about it. Like, we used to have like a speaking, last, June, July, we'd have these weekly meetings and talk about different creative ideas and outside the box of how we can get stuff done. We've slowed down on that. And I think other companies have done that too. And I think that's bad. Why have we slowed down? Because things are getting back to normal. So when it's kind of chaos, you try to get more creative. I mean, think of restaurants, right? How many food things are outside and different things we can do stuff. There's more creativity that has added value. And I'm hoping we continue that. But, sometimes it just seems to slow down.
For sure. Well, you just opened the door a little bit. I know that you're a foodie. You mentioned restaurants. What's your favorite meal? What's your go-to? What's your last meal on earth?
My last meal on earth would be from a place called Din Tai Fung. You ever heard of this place? Maybe
no.
Not.
Is it Thai?
No, it's like an Asian, but they have these juicy pork dumplings that are heaven sent. I think the original ones where I grew up, kind of in the LA, Pasadena area. They moved up to Seattle, Washington, but it is, I don't know how to describe it, but give me 10 of those things and I'm in. You put me to rest after that. I'll take some Din Tai Fung and I'm good to go.
I love it. Do you put sauce on them? Is there a sauce that accompanies it?
Yeah, it's like this garlic, I'm losing the word, ginger sauce. And if you dip it in there and I can't even describe it, Paul, but this is the
Yes.
pork that comes out of this thing. It's heaven sent. Whoever created the thing was a genius.
I wish that you could all see Tim's face right now as he's talking about his final meal on this earth.
I'll take some Oklahoma Joe's though, some barbecue there too. That'd be up there. That's some
all
good
right.
stuff.
That'll be my gift to you for being on this podcast today. So, what I took from what you just said, outside of just making my mouth water, is that you grew up potentially with Don in LA and then moved to the Denver area after, right? Is that
correct? Yeah. So I grew up in LA by Pasadena, a little town called San Gabriel. Pasadena, the Rose Bowl, it's most people are related to.
Sure.
And then I went to school in San Diego, and that's where Speaking's headquarters. So I worked out there for 6-7 years, and we decided we're going to start a family. And my wife is from Colorado, or not from Colorado. She went to college out here, and housing costs were just ridiculous at the time in Southern California. So we're like, let's see if we can give this a shot. Thought we moved to Denver for 2 years, and now we've been out here for 16 plus. And, you create roots, family, like you say, in your neighborhood, we have a great little cul-de-sac and schools, and I don't see us leaving at least until my daughter finishes high school, and we'll figure it out from there. But, I know everywhere you go, I think if you connect, I'm all about connecting. You connect with good people, you're going to find some happiness. And we found that, fortunately, in Denver. It's a great place to be.
Yes, I love it. So connection in our business obviously is key, right? Not only do you have to connect speakers in your role to organizations, then the speaker has to connect with the potential client, connect with the audience, and deliver a meaningful or memorable experience that hopefully offers some form of value, not just in the moment, this feels great, but something practical and tactical for a takeaway. Let's get into embracing awkward moments, our featured fundamental today. So I had the recent being Monday, to speak with the funeral directors across Kansas.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I was preceded, Tim, by an 1.5 hour long seminar on facial reconstruction after car wrecks or,
Right.
bullets, all that stuff. That included pictures, of course. So then they have a little break, and then the fun guy comes on, right? So what I took from this experience, and I typically start very lighthearted, typically with some music. And I come out on stage for this particular one. It was Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses. Great. And the music stops. And I am in a bright orange SpongeBob shirt that my daughter picked out for the day. A suit coat, a bow tie. Thank you, sir. I got these orange Jordans that I just got so I'm just painting a picture of how bright I am in what oftentimes we as society perceive to be a very dark industry space, right? So I play the song, I come out like I am, the song stops, and before getting into content, I say, secret time, just like Bert Kreischer if you're into comedy. Secret time, what's going through your mind right now in this moment? You can't hurt my feelings. I embrace awkward moments. What's going on? And, people said very kind things like, I love the bow tie, or man, that song took me back, or gosh, I hope he doesn't call on me.
Exactly.
And so in that moment, what I realized, Tim, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, and almost in a place of guilt, because I consistently talk about this, not just on stage, but with people on the podcast or even one-on-one with my friends and family. You never know what somebody's going through in life. Mm-hmm. You don't know where they've been. And so try to remove yourself from judgments. But as you very well know, there are industries or roles that have stigmas associated with them. And so me as a speaker, I go on stage, I'm expecting maybe not to be well received.
Right.
But my goodness, it was one of the coolest experiences I ever had. And to be honest, it boosted my confidence even more so doing that gig and resonating to the extent.
Right, makes sense. I'm with you.
Moving forward. So it was a learned experience. It was awkward going in. My question to you is, what's the most awkward ask or experience you've had in the speaking industry?
That's a good one. I'm trying to think. Let me think about this as I go. And I'm going to go back to what you said as I process this. But
Yes.
I think when you put yourself out there, though, right, people are going to embrace you. So
Yes.
when you're kind of putting yourself, I think that's so key, because you're like, here, this is me. Let's go. And people are going to kind of take that in, instead of when you're kind of standing back. People don't do that. The most awkward thing. Now you got me thinking. I don't know what it is. I mean, there's throwing some footballs with some football players. I think one time I was at this food event and they asked a celebrity to get in a pie eating contest. They had like a pie eating contest after. And you know what? This guy, he was into it, and he went and he hammered this pie. It was all over. Yeah. But you know what? And it sounds bad. Very good job on stage speaking. But what do you remember? I'll never forget that pie eating contest, right? He put himself out there, and that's what you remember. And I think that was the fact that you said yes to that. I think that was the key. He would have been fine. I mean, they bring in like a celebrity type speaker every year. Many say no to the pie eating contest, but this guy went after it, said yes. And that's what I'll remember. It was 5-6 years ago, and people still speak about that because he put himself out there and took it to the next level. And that was pretty cool.
I love it. So what you just said was just magnificent. And I feel like that's, side note, I said something like that on our Pulling Back the Curtain Clubhouse,
right?
Gave you props. And then everybody just destroyed me and you immediately. You clearly don't know Tim.
Yeah, it's my role just to get destroyed. But I love it. Just kind of like embrace the suck, man. Come after it. I'll take it all in.
Well, so what I love about what you said just now, though, is organizations and meeting planners specifically looking for speakers, we're always very deliberate in trying to find content that's going to resonate, especially in the times, right? Like right now, what are we looking to accomplish? Well, our folks have been virtual for a year and a half. So maybe we need to learn how to connect, again, share a genuine interest in others. Maybe it's about our digital footprint, whatever it may be, right? Diversity and inclusion is a huge topic right now. So whatever it is, right, we try to connect our meeting planners with that particular speaker. And I know that's the role that you play, and you play it very, very well. But what's interesting about what you said is 9 times out of 10, what people remember are the small one-offs, the little story, the improv thing that happened just off the cuff. And ultimately, that's the one thing that everybody remembers. So this is where I'm going to kind of tap into your expertise and your advice for a brief moment, because it was interesting. I think that you gave me props on being authentic and when you present yourself a certain way. That's a blessing, but could also be a curse. Because if you see me on the surface and you experience just a video or somebody slides me into a proposal, you could think, oh, well, that guy's way too much, right? He's way too much and not a lot of substance there. But I actually pride myself a great deal in entering at that level and then blowing them away with content and blowing them away with things that could potentially help them get better. So I fast forward to my question. So over the course of the last 4 months, I've spoken with funeral home directors, C-level individuals, engineers, CPAs, sales, call center reps. You named a lot of healthcare stuff, as I'm sure you're well aware, because that's big right now. And generally speaking, the message was well received. We had a great time, and a lot of notes were taken, which is the best feeling that any speaker can have. So, Dia Star Rank over at the Speaker Exchange?
I do. I know she's a big fan of yours.
Man, yeah. I love that lady. I work with her often, as well as Brittany, obviously, and Julie.
But I work with job over there.
Yes, and I wouldn't be in the IASB showcase if it wasn't for Brittany and her support. So shout out to all the ladies at the Speaker Exchange. And I'd be remiss if I didn't call out Angela Cox over at Midwest as well, that basically got my whole career started. But Dia puts me into a proposal. And she always kind of slides me in as a wild card. Like, I know that you're looking for diversity and inclusion, but you got to look at this one guy.
Right.
And so she always kind of slides in. So the guy comes back and he says, he's too much. And so she says, what do you mean too much? Monetarily too much? No, his energy, it's far more than what we're looking for. And she goes, Paul, that's something that I typically have to overcome. And I'm not sure currently how I do it if I don't have a strong relationship with those individuals. So my question to you is, there's a lot of speakers bureaus, there's a lot of organizations that have their go-to speakers as it relates to fun or employee engagement or whatever it may be. In an industry that's inundated with emails and videos and look at me, how do I differentiate myself and show substance?
I think that's a great question. And I think the key is try to help me out. And I don't mean that like, I don't know, but I mean, sometimes I get so many emails and stuff saying, here, Tim, here's my information. Let me tell you about me.
Yes.
Let me tell you more about what I do. And it gets overwhelming. But if you come back and say, hey, Tim, you know what? I saw somewhere you work with ABC type company. This is what I do. Maybe I'd be a great fit to help you in this instance there. That's kind of what I'm looking for. That's what I try to do when I send stuff to my media professionals. Hey, check out this speaker because they'll make you look good. They'll put you in this spot, right? Instead of book them here because I need to book them a certain amount of times. It makes me look good. I think we got to go out and you try to help your partners. I think that's the key out there. We're at the end of the day, we're partners. So if you can, do stuff that makes me look good and I can do stuff that makes you look good, to me, that's what a partnership's about. I just get so many emails that are just, here, this is about me. This is my new book, my new speech, and it really doesn't pertain back to me. Yeah. So I think, to me, that's a key. And, when I have my go-tos, I feel very confident in what I do and I know my product well, that there's times where I can say, you know what? Yeah, Paul, maybe there's a lot of energy there, but trust me, he will crush it, and I start going on my little diatribe on why, and they come back, right? And at the end of the day, you crush it. They're going to come back and, I make them look like a hero. Then, it gains more confidence for me and for you as we go forward. And I think that's the key. But I think you're right. You get set in a proposal sometimes. It's hard when you're 4 or 5 other speakers, but I think you need advocates like myself and other people, the speaker exchange and the bureau industry go, Paul is going to crush it. Trust me. And I've had, meeting planners go, if they don't, I'm going to take out one of your legs. And I'm like, go for it. Take it both out. That's how good I feel about it. But, you have that rapport going.
For sure.
You want to be confident in that product. And, I call speakers like no-brainers, and that's meant to be a compliment. Oh. You're going to go in, you're easy to work with, you're going to customize, you're going to be great on stage, and you're going to follow up. And it's great. To me, that's like I call that a no-brainer and a compliment manner, because we don't have to worry about you going out and crushing it for that customer.
Man, I greatly appreciate that, Tim. I appreciate the honesty and transparency, two very valuable traits, two of the most valuable traits that any leader can have. If you're listening, vulnerability and honesty are two things that could get you very far in life and really create meaningful and memorable interactions. So, I appreciate your honesty in saying that. And part of me telling you that also is getting a little vulnerable and saying that, I've never been the individual that like to approach things in a self-serving nature. And so my approach to the speaking industry has been, and my entry point has been, based on what people have told me, somewhat unconventional, in that historically speakers go out, they create a client base, they make a name for themselves, they do their thing, then speakers bureaus catch on, and there's, so you start yourself and then you get into speakers bureaus. I started it completely opposite of that, in that I did one gig, a speakers bureau caught on to me, and then I would say 90% of my gigs have been speakers bureaus. Now, is that sustainable? I don't know. It's something that I gotta go through. But I will say that there's been about 4 bureaus that have just had me as, in a steady rotation. My fear has always been, though, like, I know, and Shawn Hanks told me this best through Premiere.
Don't listen to Shawn Hanks. That's my one tip. Don't ever listen to Shawn Hanks. I'm just kidding. He's great. Shawn's one of my good friends in the industry. So
He
I'm
is a
proud to,
phenomenal human being, just a phenomenal human being.
I agree.
A CrossFit psycho, but a phenomenal human
You know
being.
what? That's all Shawn talks about now is just CrossFit. It's like he's a marathon run. Let me tell you about my CrossFit.
Right.
Look at my arms. He's wearing his shirts are shorter now. It's ridiculous. It's getting a little annoying.
So I was talking to him, and he said, Paul, speakers ask me all the time, how do you get in with a bureau? And that's the wrong question to ask, because you never get in with a bureau. You do what you just referenced. You have an advocate, a strong connection,
right,
somebody that supports you and you support them, like a D-Star rank, like a Tim Mathy, and you connect with them. And then ultimately, when they see that listen, I'm here to prop you up. And as a byproduct of that, I know that you're going to prop me up as well. But I'm in it for the long term.
Exactly.
I care about you more personally than professionally. And so for me to reach out to bureaus, like I don't do that as much as I should, because I know how much you guys are inundated. And I believe, going back to the energy, that things happen as and when they should. If I just keep my head down and I keep making an impact and doing what I feel like I was put on this earth to do and show a genuine interest in others and lead with kindness, well, then ultimately good things are going to happen. Because
I agree. And I think that's
like you.
Well, that's what Dia, I don't know her that well, but I saw somewhere she was pushing out for something. I don't remember where it was. And I'm like, I got to check this guy out. Seriously. And it was like, I know Shawn well, Shawn Hanks, but I don't know Dia that well. And I saw something, her push your name out there. And I'm like, okay, let me check this out. If you'd have reached out to me directly, blindly, I would have probably never connected that way. So I agree. I think I completely agree. I think this industry, it's all about the long-term play. I always say, don't screw anybody over in this industry, because they never leave.
Sure.
People don't leave. They reinvent themselves from meeting planner, convention and visitors bureau, speakers bureau. People don't leave in this industry because it's so cool. But you got to be ethical and fair and transparent, because it is a long-term play. I really believe that.
Absolutely. And then when you establish relationships through trust and a genuine interest and all that stuff, then the awkward moments that creep up, like the difficult contract conversations or, all the stuff that we've had to deal with over the course of the last year and a half, it's a little bit easier to cope or deal with. So
without a doubt. And yes. I think, back to the contract, I think the key is almost all my I'd say 90% of the contract dealings, we never even talked about the contract. We didn't get into specifics, because we have this relationship where it's, look, I'm going to try to do right by you, the meeting professional, and you, the speaker. So let's make it work. And you do it. We never got into the logistics of, subpoint C, part A, part 2 of the contract says. We never really got into that, because that takes away from the relationship. It's like, here, let's talk this out, figure it out. It's good for you. It's good for the speaker. Bam, let's move on. And I think that is the key to, anything, and especially in a relationship, because if you don't have that right now, it could get ugly. It could have got really ugly, and no one want to experience that.
I agree wholeheartedly. Now, we are coming to our time's end. I could talk to you for hours, but in respect of your time, I want to get you back to connecting organizations with the right speaker, because I know that's where you make your living. Or maybe you're going on a hike. I don't know. Maybe you're just going to celebrate a graduation with cake. But nevertheless,
go play some frisbee golf. I'm ready for it. So.
Yes. So, so you said law school. You wanted to go to law school. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I actually wanted to go to law school. I took the LSAT.
Right.
And,
okay.
That was a route that I was going to go. I scored okay. I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't going to get into, Brown University.
I was the same way. I think we're probably in the same area.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just doing it. I wasn't sure what the heck I wanted to do myself.
Yes, that's exactly right. And so I just stumbled through life, and then ultimately I found a path. So, in many folks stumbling through life and trying to identify their path, before we wrap up with a quick and rapid fire a list of questions that are going to be fun and lighthearted, I have a lot of speakers, potential speakers, that want to get into the industry, and they ask me all the time, "What do I do? What don't I do?" And I'm sure you get this all the time. It kind of goes back into being inundated with emails and some of the requests that you get.
Right.
What's the biggest mistake that an aspiring speaker can make?
It's good. I think they try to be a jack of all trades. They want to be change, customer service, leadership, sales, innovation, diversity, and inclusion. You can't be an expert in everything. Pick your lane, stay in it, and go. I'm from Southern California. I'm a big In-N-Out burger fan, right? In-N-Out does burgers, fries, and shakes. That's what they do, and they do it well. They stay in their lane and they go, and that's how I feel a speaker needs to do. They need to pick what they're really good at and passionate about it, and become not good at that, become great at it, because there's a lot of other people doing that too. So become the best you can in a certain thing, but don't become a jack of all trades, because it's not possible to be an expert in all categories.
All right, my friend. That's great advice for all of you aspiring speakers out there, and even consultants, I would add to that mix. Try to stay in your lane. Find some things that you do very, very well, and don't get spread too thin. I get a lot of requests. Do you do customer service? Do you do sales training? And the truth of the matter is, I feel like Fundamism and the fundamentals could really apply to all of that. But I really want to try to remain in the employee engagement space and driving a culture of experience, because I know that a byproduct of that is every single performance KPI will improve if your people feel like you value them and you're spending time in their development. So, all right, let's wrap up with a rapid fire.
Let's go.
All right. You mentioned that you love card games and board games. Let's start with card games. Now, pre-Texas Hold'em days, we used to hang out with my buddies. There was about 7 or 8 of them and their fathers. And we would do dealer calls it. So it would rotate, right? So we would do, in between, which could get like the pot and in between.
I know what you're talking about.
Yes, yeah. So we'd play a 7-card stud, low Chicago. We play Indian. We play all the games, right? Then Texas Hold'em came, and anybody wanted to play all the time was Texas Hold'em. So I got out of the card game. What is your favorite card game?
I'm a huge hearts fan. If you get the right 3 people around me, give me a great game of hearts where it's competitive. And actually, you know what? I should also say rummy. Like, my parents play rummy, and when they play with my kids, or sometimes I sit in, but they're at my house right now. They're in town for the graduation. My parents are playing with my 2 sons last night, and I didn't even play, but just watching them play and connect and embrace, different generations. To me, it was awesome. It was awesome just kind of watching them talk trash to each other. So I'm going to change my answer from hearts to rummy, because just watching them embrace was really cool this last couple of days.
I love it. Being a sports junkie, you express that you like to play a lot of sports. Do you also enjoy watching sports? And if so,
without a doubt. What's
your most memorable sporting moment?
Kirk Gibson's home run in '88 against the Oakland A's.
Yes.
Exactly. Vince Scully calling it. Vince Scully, the greatest of all time. That's still the greatest.
For those of you that aren't tuning in on YouTube, I did Kirk Gibson's infamous fist to the sky. You're a recent dog lover. Of course, I don't know how long ago your LinkedIn profile was updated. Talk to us about your recent love for dogs.
Sure. My wife and kids wanted a dog. I didn't want one. I never had a dog growing up, which I still blame my parents for now that I have a dog. But so they put like an Excel spreadsheet together, how they're going to clean, wash the dog. Never happened. But we ended up getting a golden doodle some years ago, and I love that dog. Luna is my dog. It's amazing. I come home from a business trip. No one cares with that dog. It's unconditional love. Walks, runs, whatever. I don't know. I never knew the magic of a dog until we had that. Till we had Luna. She's amazing.
Love it.
Go get a dog. If you don't have one, go get a dog.
Hey, you're talking to a cat guy. You better watch out. But I get your affection for Luna, because Maximilian Alexander Long was our firstborn child, and the apple of my eye. All right. So you're an individual that appears to like to laugh or love to laugh.
Yes.
What makes you laugh the most?
Good question. When my kids do something stupid, when they're just kind of being natural, like you say, that those awkward moments when they're being awkwardly stupid, that kills me. That kills me. And a good slapstick movie. Give me a good Will Ferrell, Adam Sandler, and maybe a little Something About Mary. I'm always good for a laugh there.
I love it.
Exactly. I'll take it out.
So I should have worn my my stepbrother's shirt today.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I can't get enough of that. Can't
No.
get enough Step Brothers.
Coincidentally, our
The
son's
F and
name.
Catalina wine mix.
That's
man.
right.
Can't
That
go
is
wrong.
absolutely
Exactly.
right. Our son's name is Brennan Royal, named after Brennan
That's
Will Ferrell.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
and
fantastic.
World Series run. All right, last question, my friend. Music means the world to me. I know that it's a great connector for a lot of people. What is a memorable concert that you went to?
I'm gonna start out first. I live in Denver. Red Rocks to me is the best venue there is in the world, and my wife and I go to a lot of concerts. So this last year was rough because we didn't hit a lot. I'm gonna go separate on this. So my wife is a big Brandi Carlile fan, who I like as well. If you know Brandi Carlile,
Yes.
and a few years ago she brought my daughter up on stage to sing because she knew all the songs. So it wasn't directly related to me, but the fact that Sarah at the time was like 6 years old is singing "Keep Your Heart Young" with Brandi Carlile. That was pretty money on my book.
Yes.
So that was pretty cool.
And it goes back to your point earlier. It's like, she had all of these songs and this, this whole set. And what you remember is bringing the daughter up on stage.
Yeah, the improv, not what she normally planned. And there goes Sarah. It wasn't, she just went up on stage and she's singing with Brandi. And she was horrible singer, my daughter. But it was just she's 6, right? You don't care at that moment. She was just letting it go, and that's definitely up there. So that's probably number one.
My goodness, you'll appreciate this. We just returned from Branson, 5 days in Branson, Missouri.
Nice.
We got Reza Tickets, who is the premier illusionist. He's been on TV several times, and randomly, I got called on stage to get my head cut off, and I didn't generate it, believe it or not. But my kids loved it. They were, how did he do that? Did you feel it? Did it hurt? And they'll remember that forever. And they're, exactly. 8 and 5 respectively. So it means a lot to me just to open your heart, to share stories like that, to talk to us about the industry, to share what you do for fun and where you find your goodness. Tim, I think that you're a world-class man. I can't wait to connect with you in Miami. You have any last words, my friend?
No, just thanks for taking the time to do this with me, Paul. I had a great time. Looking forward to Miami, and let's go out and make the world a better place.
Let's do it, my friend. To you, the Fundamism Podcast listener, we greatly appreciate your support. We couldn't be whatever the hell we are without you. So get out there and embrace awkward moments. Believe it or not, most people aren't thinking about you as much as you think they are. So get out of your head, be authentic, have fun. And in doing so, not only will your life get better, but you might create a little more fun for others as well. Until we see you on the flip side, be safe, smile often, have fun, and deuces.